Hi, everyone. Someone sent me 5 questions that I thought were especially insightful and especially indicated that they were really thinking through how does Bitcoin work? How do the pieces fit together? How does it all fit together? And I just thought they were fantastically good. These are from like a week or two or more ago, and I am finally getting a chance to addressing each one. So I pasted all of the questions in the description of this video, and as I drive here, I will attempt to simultaneously drive. For logistics reasons, I am not driving my Tesla at the moment, which means I actually have to drive. Um, I am driving the family Honda Pilot, which does not drive itself, sadly, and it means I gotta try to drive and read Q&A at the same time. But I thought these were really good, so here we go. Hey, first question, question number one. Is all 21 million Bitcoin owned by someone at this time? The answer is no, because the issuance schedule for Bitcoin, the rate at which Bitcoin miners mine, is such that all of the Bitcoin is slowly mined between the year 2009 and the year 2140, which is 115 years in the future, 115, long after we're all dead and gone. But all of that was front loaded. So 95%, 95%, 19/20ths of all the Bitcoin that will ever exist in the universe has already been mined. So 95% of all the Bitcoin is owned by someone. It is just the last 5% that is yet to be mined. Now, because it's front loaded, four of those remaining 5% will be mined between now and 2034. So in the year 2034, the Bitcoin network will be down to the last 1%. We're already down to the last 5%. In the next 9 years, the issuance schedule, which keeps dropping in half, which is called the halving, happens every 4 years. Because that keeps happening and the issuance schedule keeps going down over time, it will be down to just the last 1% of the Bitcoin that will be mined in the final, basically, however, 105 years, 106 years. So the last 1% takes 106 years. The next 4% takes 9 years, and 95% of the Bitcoin has already been mined. All right, so next question. In the beginning, this is question number two. In the beginning, did Satoshi Nakamoto, the creator of Bitcoin, start out owning all of the Bitcoin? The answer is no. So Satoshi Nakamoto wanted the Bitcoin to be distributed to the world in a completely fair way where nobody had an advantage and nobody got sort of free access. And so the way the Bitcoin mining works is you have to expend electricity and computational power. Satoshi Nakamoto announced Bitcoin to the world on September 3rd, 2009, and he embedded in the Genesis block, which is the very first block of the blockchain, he embedded a message that said, Times of London 2009, Chancellor on the brink of second bailout, which was the headline of the Times of London of that day. He did that to prove that he had not been mining Bitcoin prior to that day. And when he released Bitcoin to the world, everybody had an equal shot of mining Bitcoin at the same time. So, for example, the actual mining and the launch of the network happened on January 9 of 2009. And Hal Finney, the first person who publicly posted that they were mining Bitcoin, was on January 10th of 2009. So all of those people were mining Bitcoin at the same time. Anyone in the entire world at the launch of the Bitcoin network could have opened their computer, downloaded the software, and told it to mine Bitcoin. Now, you can't do that anymore because it requires specialized computers to do that now. But right now, anybody can buy a $200 BitX Bitcoin miner and mine like anyone else. The Bitcoin miner I run, I have two of them. They're never going to find a Bitcoin. They're like going to find one Bitcoin block every 115,000 years. It's like buying a single lottery ticket for the Powerball and expecting to win every time or something like that. You're just not going to win. Statistically, that's basically impossible to win with a single BitX miner, which means if you want to actually mine a block, you have to have thousands of them. But I got the same shot as everybody. I might win just like every other Bitcoin miner might win. I just only have one of them. And if you want to mine a block once every year, you need 15,000 miners. If you have one miner, you're going to win a block every 15,000 years, which is not going to do me any good because I'm statistically not going to be alive. So anyway, but Satoshi did not give himself any special Bitcoin. So 100% of the Bitcoin that is mined by anyone in the world and 100% of the Bitcoin that will ever be mined was mined fair and square by someone expending computing power and computational resources and electricity to get that Bitcoin. And in the early days of Bitcoin, it cost just about as much to mine Bitcoin. It's always cost about as much to mine Bitcoin as the actual price of Bitcoin. It's slightly less, otherwise people wouldn't mine, but it's not like a big moneymaker. Even in the early days of Bitcoin, you were expending, 30 cents of extra electricity to mine Bitcoin in a day, for example, and you might get some Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin in the early days had zero value. So you're expending money on electricity and getting Bitcoin that has a zero value because it had not even acquired a price yet, which did not happen until the middle of 2010 when the very first person bought two Papa John's pizzas for 10,000 Bitcoin. But anyway, um, so all that to say, nobody got sorry, people are calling me and texting me, and my phone is AI generating summaries as fast as I'm talking here. But it's not important. Right, so so all of the Bitcoin started by being mined by someone, and then it became owned by someone else when hold on. Hey kids, I'm recording a video. Um, they the Bitcoin became owned by someone else when the Bitcoin miner sold it to someone else. So when a Bitcoin miner mines a Bitcoin, they have to expend electricity and computational power, which costs money. So it costs. I'm going to pick a number. It costs like 90% of the price of a Bitcoin to mine a Bitcoin, and so they have to turn around and sell that Bitcoin to people like you and me. Otherwise, they could not pay for their electricity costs. Now, that's a very small percentage right now. In a year, the Bitcoin network generates about 0.75% more Bitcoin, less than three quarters of 1% more Bitcoin to the Bitcoin miners. And again, that gets smaller and smaller and smaller as a percent by each passing year, due to the Bitcoin halving. But anyway, all that to say, every Bitcoin that has ever been acquired by anyone was either mined fair and square by a Bitcoin miner expending computational power, uh, and electricity, or it was bought by someone from a Bitcoin miner who expended computational power and electricity. Nobody got a free lunch. Nobody got a free ride. Nobody started owning all the Bitcoin. It's just similar to gold, which is why people call Bitcoin digital gold. Who owns the original gold in the world? The answer is nobody. It's underground. Who gets the original gold in the world? Well, whoever digs it up first. Who owns the fish in the ocean? Nobody. Who owns them? Well, whoever catches one, that's who owns it. So Bitcoin works the same way, just like digital gold. The person who digs it out of the ground first owns it. And if somebody else wants to own it, you got to buy gold from somebody who dug it out of the ground first. And Bitcoin works the same way, completely fair for everyone. All right. So question number three, one second. Question number three: who owned all the Bitcoin to begin with? So this is on, tail end of question number two. So the answer is nobody. Nobody owned all the Bitcoin to begin with. It was basically sitting out there, all 21 million, waiting to be mined over the course of 131 years. Between 2009 and the year 2140 is 131 years. And in that 131 years, and it just mathematically, the way the Bitcoin protocol works, it takes 131 years for all of the halvings to happen and for the ultimate new issuance of Bitcoin to reach zero, at which point, instead of right now, the Bitcoin network is ramping up. Initially, the Bitcoin miners were paid entirely by block rewards, which is the mined Bitcoin, because there was no transaction fees. Over time, that has shifted and is shifting, and over time continues to shift to transaction fees. And so in the year 2140, there will not be a block reward. You will not be mining new Bitcoin. The Bitcoin miners who secure and audit the network in the year 2140 will be paid entirely by transaction fees, which are anticipated to be vastly higher in total value due to the value of the Bitcoin network than the combined total of transaction fees and block rewards right now. So in short, the Bitcoin miners are likely to be paid way more in the year 2140 than they are today, even though there's no new Bitcoin to mine in the year 2140. It's all transaction fees, but the Bitcoin network at that point will be so valuable that the transaction fees alone will be more valuable than current than I should say, in the year 2140, the Bitcoin, the total transaction fees will be valued at more than the block reward and the transaction fees combined today. Okay, so nobody starts owning Bitcoin just like nobody owns the fish in the ocean before somebody goes fishing, just like nobody owns gold underground before it gets mined. It's just, I guess there's something, called mineral rights, but we're looking at this like again, like all the gold's at the center of the earth and anyone can dig for it anywhere, and whoever gets there first gets whatever they can mine. That's the way Bitcoin works. Hey, where did all the cash come from that was used to purchase newly mined Bitcoin, and where did it go? Okay, so as with anything, a Bitcoin miner, just like let's talk about a gold miner. A gold miner uses money to dig gold out of the ground. And then they sell that gold for a profit to someone who wants gold for jewelry or industrial uses, or to sit on it for its monetary value, because obviously gold, the vast majority of the value of gold is its monetary properties. Gold had value for monetary reasons long before it had any industrial uses, and its decorative uses have always been a relatively small percentage of gold's value. Its monetary attributes are what give gold the vast majority of its value. Okay, so the question here, again, I'm doing a video here, and while I'm doing a video, I've gotten like 26 messages on Signal, text message, Facebook Messenger, multiple phone calls. Forgive me, I should have set my phone to do not disturb before I even started this. So where did the cash come from? Well, just like where did the cash come from on digital, on the Yellow Rock, is somebody put up the investment dollars to start digging. They put up the investment dollars to start digging. The gold got dug out of the ground. Hold on, let me see if I can silence. Going do not disturb does not mess you up if I do that live in the middle of a video. Let's hope for fewer interruptions. All right, so just like with gold mining, a group of investors puts up the money to buy the equipment to dig the gold out of the ground. When they're done doing that, they sell the gold to people who want gold in order to pay for the mining equipment, the land that they're mining on, the electricity to purify the gold, all of that. So Bitcoin works the same way. The original money that is used to get the Bitcoin in the first place is put up by investors. Investors buy Bitcoin mining equipment and they pay for electricity. Eventually, their Bitcoin miners mine new Bitcoin. Because it's so expensive to mine Bitcoin, they sell their Bitcoin at a profit, but often not a huge profit. It's often a relatively small profit. They sell their Bitcoin into the marketplace, and someone who wants Bitcoin for its monetary properties buys it from a Bitcoin miner. Same with gold. Investors put up money to buy gold. The gold is dug out of the ground. They pay back the people for the equipment and the electricity and the labor and all of that, and which leaves a small profit. And the money that it is used to pay for the gold that got dug out of the ground comes out of the hands of people who want the gold that came out of the ground. Same with Bitcoin. The money that pays the Bitcoin miners to go get it, plus the profit they have to pay to the Bitcoin miners, comes from people who value Bitcoin because of its monetary properties and want to own Bitcoin because it is a better store of value than stocks, bonds, real estate, or anything else. So because of Bitcoin's monetary properties and because it stores value due to its scarcity, fungibility, durability, verifiability, divisibility, all of the attributes of money, of which there are between 5 and 8, depending on who you ask, of primary attributes of what makes a good money. Bitcoin does a better job on those between 5 and 8 attributes, depending on how you count them, than anything else in the world. Therefore, people want it because it stores value. They can exchange it for stuff in the future. They can carry it across borders. All of the things that make Bitcoin amazing, people want Bitcoin for all of those reasons. And so they're willing to pay for it. And so they buy it from Bitcoin miners who sell it, into the marketplace for a fraction of a penny less than you could get that same Bitcoin from someone who already owns it. Now, how do I know that Bitcoin miners are selling it at the same price or less than everyone else in the world? Well, because nobody would buy it from a Bitcoin miner unless they could get it at the same price or cheaper than they could get it from someone who already has Bitcoin. And so that's the way markets work. Everyone for any commodity, it doesn't matter if it's gold, silver, soybeans, rice, you know, corn, Bitcoin, every commodity, everybody wants it for a price that's equal to or less than they can get it from anyone else in the world. So that's how I know the Bitcoin miners are selling it for the same price or less than anyone else is selling Bitcoin anywhere in the world, because otherwise me and everyone else who is accumulating as much Bitcoin as they possibly can would buy it from someone who already has it instead of from a Bitcoin miner. So where does the money come from? It comes from investors who mine the Bitcoin or after it's been mined, it comes from people holding US dollars like me. Well, I don't own any Bitcoin, any US dollars anymore, but I used to. It comes from people like me who used to own Bitcoin dollars, or sorry, used to own US dollars, and determined that that was a bad place to keep wealth, and therefore converted it to Bitcoin. And then I sold my stocks and bonds and converted those to Bitcoin. And any real estate I could ever get my hands on, I sold and converted that to Bitcoin. And it's just that simple. So that's where the dollars came from. Hey, next up, the last of the five questions, number 5 out of 5. Where does all the cash come from that is used to purchase the newly mined Bitcoin? And where does that cash go? And what is it that gives that Bitcoin value without being owned ever by anyone yet? Okay, so let me get a drink and I'll answer. Okay, so the answer is I need to stop here at a gas station. I'm not sure if this is the one. We're going to find out. Anyway, so the answer is okay. So money comes from people who wants Bitcoin, and that let me see what the specific. Oh, and what gives Bitcoin value? What gives Bitcoin value is its monetary properties. It has better monetary properties than anything else that exists anywhere in the world because it's more durable, more fungible, more scarce, more divisible, more authenticatable, more verifiable, more all the things. It's scarce, mainly scarce. Like scarce is by far the number one thing. It is it does a better job than anything else of those things. Therefore, it is valuable. Therefore, people are willing to buy it for those reasons. And again, with the Bitcoin miners, the way that works is people are willing to. Okay, it looks like I did not miss my exit after all. Okay, so people are willing to pay Bitcoin miners for their Bitcoin because their Bitcoin is just as good as anyone else's Bitcoin. All the Bitcoin in the world is equal. It's all durable, fungible, divisible, verifiable, authenticatable, and scarce. It's all of the Bitcoin, just like all of the gold, is uniform, and therefore Bitcoin that has been freshly mined is just as valuable as Bitcoin that was mined back in 2009. It's all the same, and because it's all the same, it's valuable for the exact same reasons the existing stock of Bitcoin is valuable. So anytime someone mines new Bitcoin, someone like me or like you or like someone in the world is willing to pay them for that Bitcoin because of its monetary properties, the exact same reason they would buy Bitcoin from anyone for its monetary properties. And again, as long as the Bitcoin miner is selling their Bitcoin for the same or 1 penny less than anyone else in the world is selling it for, they will sell the Bitcoin. Or the Bitcoin miner can choose to sit on the Bitcoin if they can afford to sit on the Bitcoin after they have already paid for all their electric bills, their labor costs, the Bitcoin mining equipment, the return on investor to their investors. After all of that is done, if they still have Bitcoin left over, uh, that they don't have to sell to pay off all those people, well, then of course they can keep it. And that is their profit that they can keep on their balance sheet. And a lot of Bitcoin mining companies have kept some Bitcoin, but typically it's a pretty small percentage of what they mine because they have all these costs they have to pay for. So anyway, let me make sure I answered that one. So where does all the cash go? And where does the cash go? Anytime you're buying Bitcoin, it goes into the hands of whoever's selling the Bitcoin. So if you buy Bitcoin from a Bitcoin miner, which they're always going to sell it through Coinbase or River or something like that, so you're never buying it. You might be buying it directly from a Bitcoin miner, but you would never know that because they're just selling it on exchanges, like just like you and I can sell Bitcoin on exchanges. Um, so where does the cash go? By whoever's selling the Bitcoin. It might be a Bitcoin miner. It might be somebody like me or you who wants to go on a nice vacation and is sitting on a bunch of Bitcoin that's massively appreciated and just decided that a nice vacation is worth more than 0.001 Bitcoin or however much. Um, and it could be but someone who needs to pay off a medical bill. It could be someone who has a down payment on a house. But someone somewhere is willing to give up Bitcoin right now at $108,000 per coin. Someone somewhere is willing to sell the Bitcoin because they need US dollars or their local currency for something to improve the life of them or their family. Or it's a Bitcoin miner who needs to pay for their mining equipment. They need to pay their investors. They need to pay for electricity. And again, just like with gold, it's like where does the money go that pays for the gold that comes out of the ground? Well, it goes to the gold miner. Well, where does it go if you buy gold from a bullion dealer, which is people who sell like gold by the ounce or by the, gram or whatever? And the answer is, well, it goes to them and back to someone somewhere along the chain who decided they were willing to part with gold for $3,400 an ounce or whatever it is. Anyway, hope all that makes sense. A lot of moving part, fantastic questions. And again, the last part of that is what gives it value if it's never been owned by anyone? The answer is because it has all the monetary attributes of every Bitcoin that's ever been mined before and all the Bitcoin that's ever been owned by anyone before. And because Bitcoin is so amazing, it has all these incredible attributes that make it super valuable. And that's how that works. So I especially appreciated these questions because I thought they were especially insightful and indicated that the person who asked these questions was really doing the mental hard work, the proof of work, really doing the mental hard work to link together, okay, but why this? But why this? And where this? And how does that happen? And why does this have value? I thought this was a group of some of the best questions I've been asked in a very long time. And I deeply appreciated those questions. And I'm glad I finally had a chance to do a video answering those questions. If you have any follow-up questions, stick them in the comments and I'll take my best shot. Thanks, everyone.